The majority of Americans are working their tails off, gang, to win the battle against drug and the scum that sell it. Well, there's a way to stop drugs at their source. It's called Paraquat. The Environmental Protection Agency has approved it. So, how did a bunch of paranoid, dope-crazed hippies beat Uncle Sam in the war of drugs? On this show, we're going to find out how the government is finally taking the battle back to the fields, all right? You want to smoke drugs, pal? Don't do it in the studio. I mean, the joint is reeking of pot. We're going to tell you how to get rid of it next. Let me introduce some of the folks that we have at home base. No one at our loudmouths yet. So we'll start with Ed Rosenthal, who has written the Marijuana Grower's Guide. Is that correct?
That's right. Grower's Handbook.
Is what is it called?
And also the Marijuana Grower's Handbook.
Marijuana Growers.
Marijuana Growing Tips, other books.
Aye. This is a real Pulitzer Prize winner, this guy.
It sold over 1 million copies, over 1 million copies. Over 1 million people have wanted to grow pot.
Because a lot of people got the when they read it and used it to wipe themselves. Let me introduce you.
People would do that so they'd buy more books.
Let me introduce Jerry Silverman, who's with the Federation of Drug-Free Communities. Jerry, how are you?
Very good.
And let me start with Ed, all right? U.S. government recently, all right, sprayed some marijuana fields in Texas with the herbicide Paraquat. Any problem with that, pal?
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Paraquat is much more dangerous than marijuana is, and it's not only dangerous.
That is absolutely untrue. There has been hearings. Were you at the 79 hearings with Dr. Wolf? Because I was there. Were you there in 83? Because I was there. Wait a second.
Let me read.
No, I will give you. No, wait a second. Are you a botanist? Are you a botanist?
Wait a second, let's listen to what old Whisperum Lip says.
The DEA from the cannabis eradication on non-federal and Indian lands in the contiguous United States. Paraquat is highly toxic.
And poisoning.
Please shut up. Why don't you shut up? Paraquat is highly toxic. And poisoning may result from either oral or dirt.
It is not true. It is biodegradable. In fact, you have more harm if you smoke marijuana than you do 10 times more carcinogenic. Show me your degree in botany. Are you a botanist? Are you a botanist?
That's right. I am a botanist.
Let me see your degree. You are not.
I'm a botanist.
He is not. And horticulture, where
only flower he grows, man, is the one in the back that he kind of didn't.
So, I cannot believe this. In
how long is it?
2 sentences.
Let him do the 2 sentences, Jerry. Let him do the 2 sentences.
Okay, let him
This is from the DEA. I didn't make this up. Paraquat is highly toxic, and poisoning may result from either oral or dermal exposure. No cases of fatal acute inhalation toxicity have been reported, although laboratory animals exposed to respirable aerosols of paraquat have died. And that's not the half of it. Every year, about 30 people die from paraquat poisoning. That is used.
No. There are no verified cases in this country of one single case of paraquat death. Now, don't say that. Not one.
Please, let me finish what I was saying.
Go ahead, let him finish, Jerry. Let him finish so we can get the information out.
I'm not talking about in relationship to marijuana. I'm talking about in agricultural uses. About 30 people a year die of it from acute fibrosis of the lungs because it's sprayed on soybeans and many other crops. And if it's sprayed,
Jerry, let me ask you a question. I mean, this guy's telling us how dangerous it is. Is it as dangerous as this grassroots guru says?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This is a man, if he took his energies right now for all the toxic waste of all the problems that we have, and he took his abnormal society, which is called abnormals at this point, and put it to some good use and help society rather than the self-centered, self-vested interest that you have, this world might be better off.
Ed, if paraquat is so dangerous, why has the Environmental Protection Agency approved it as a herbicide?
It's all Reagan appointees, and those
No,
people,
it doesn't.
those
It was
people,
approved in
those people.
1959.
Do you remember? Do you remember?
Of course it's Reagan appointees.
What?
They're not as
You know,
stupid. They're not as stupid as the Carter appointees who you convinced not to use it.
You know,
right?
You know, as a matter of fact,
in
Paraquat-
1959, it was discovered. In 1962, which Dwight Eisenhower was president. No, I'm sorry, Edward Kennedy was president.
No,
was when
Jack
it was
Kennedy.
approved. I'm sorry, Jack
Okay,
Kennedy.
I don't want to go to a
He has
history.
a lot of stuff wrong.
It's
Paraquat-
1962 was FDA approved.
All right, let me give you some.
1962.
Let me just say one thing. The Paraquat was discovered in the 19th century. We have a long record of its acute toxicity for the past 80 years.
True.
And this woman,
been used
I don't give a
woman-
damn
this
if it
woman
is
just
true.
ignorant.
It's a hell of a lot
She's an
better than
ignorant person. I don't even know
marijuana.
why they put her on here. She's so ignorant.
And Agent Orange sucks, too.
My
All right, I'll
friend,
tell you what.
you
We're
are
going to come back. We're going to talk to some other experts, all right, who know a little bit more about this crap than this gentleman does. Stand by.
Invitation for the Morton Downey Jr. Show, furnished by Redwood Limousine. When in New York, call 212-226-7665.
All right. Let's introduce you to some more folks that we've got. We're joined at the loud mouth by Otto Morton, who is the founder of the National Federation of Parents. I believe that's for drug-free youth. Is that right, Otto?
One of the founding members,
How are you,
right.
pal? Let me also introduce John Getman, Executive Director of the National Organization to Reform Marijuana Laws. Normal. Look at the ones who applauded, will you? Check around you. Sweetheart, you use this stuff? Do you? Huh?
We smoke pot and we like it a lot.
We smoke pot and we like it a lot.
I can tell.
I mean, do those brains think up slogans or not, huh? We
Low
smoke
energy
pot
levels.
and we
That's
like
what
it
this
a
stuff
lot.
does. Low energy levels in the
All
brain.
right, let me start with John over here. John, you folks at Normal are anything but that, I think. The spraying of Paraquat made you so paranoid in 1983 that you actually filed a suit asking, I believe it was for $30 million worth of damages because the spraying was an, quote, intentional infliction of emotional distress and cruel and unusual punishment. And as a result, your members have suffered humiliation, embarrassment, degradation, and mental anguish. What sort of crap is that, huh?
I think the more important thing is that we cut them off from using Paraquat for the last 4 years with our court suit, and the basis of the suit
Sure, look what's
was
growing on your
environmental
sleeve.
damage.
Look what's growing on your
Wait a second. You said
Probably
environmental
from a
damage. Wait a
marijuana
second.
plant.
Well, it doesn't bother me at all.
Doesn't
Listen,
smoke it then.
I'm not afraid of Paraquat. And I tell you, this whole recent Paraquat spraying, it's public relations. They sprayed it on a bunch of wild marijuana that the federal government planted 40 years ago.
It's
They're
the
not going to spray it
safest
anywhere in the
herbicide
U.S.
in the world.
It's not going to have any effect on indoor marijuana cultivation. And if they screw up the environment or have any risk of it getting to marijuana smokers, we'll have them back in court and we'll stop them. Meanwhile, if they want to use Paraquat instead of using machetes to chop the marijuana plants down, they can waste their time. In the last 8 years of Ronald Reagan, marijuana has become the #1 crop, and nothing they're doing is going to stop
Paraquat
that.
really is, buddy? You know what Paraquat... I'll tell you what Paraquat is, okay? It's the safest herbicide that we got in the whole world. #1. Wait a second. Let me tell you something
They
else.
can use it.
Hey,
I don't care.
Wait a second.
It's not going to
Wait
do
a
any
minute.
good.
Wait a second. You accuse Paraquat to foul up the environment. You're absolutely wrong. It's the safest herbicide that we got in the whole world.
Then
It's
why
been
are
used by 90 countries on all kinds of plants. Now, you know what it does to the cannabis plant? I'll tell you, if you
Kills
want to
it.
listen, okay?
Kills
No,
it. I
you.
know what it
does
does
it do
to
to
it.
the cannabis plant?
But so what?
Wait a minute.
So what?
That's
so
your
they
argument,
spray
idiot.
Paraquat on marijuana
It's the
plants.
cheapest way
So
to get
what?
rid of the crap.
Well,
okay? I'm
good
telling you.
luck.
Now, let
A
me tell you
challenge.
crap.
We will come back.
Marijuana. you know.
We will come back in 2 or 3 years, and we will see how much marijuana is
Let
grown
me
in
tell
the
you
U.S.
something.
and
It's
how
the
much
cheapest
they've been
way.
able to spray.
First of all, it's biodegradable. Do you know what that means?
It is not the biodegradable.
It is that is. Sit down, you dummy. You don't know what you're talking about.
It is not biodegradable. It absolutely is not. And
Now listen,
the clay
if you
molecule
spray a
is
cannabis
right.
plant with
And if the
Paraquat,
soil doesn't have
you
a
have
clay
to
molecule,
harvest it in 48 days, or the leaves disintegrate.
48
Now, wait a
hours.
second. No,
Hours,
no.
not
I
48
mean,
days.
I'm sorry, you're right.
Get your
48,
facts straight.
48 hours, right. Okay.
I know
Second,
this stuff, Mr.
No,
Morton.
wait a second. You
Of course,
do?
he's
So why would you be
educated.
against the
I
spraying
mean, look
of
at the
Paraquat?
fancy little hair,
Because you smoke the
Joe.
tobacco.
Hey, they can use
Let me tell you
Paraquat.
something. When they smoke marijuana with Paraquat sprayed on it, okay, 98.8% of the residue burns off from the ignition temperature, okay? So, oh, yes, it does. Hey, hello, anybody home up there? I'm going to tell you to stop, put your
Let me-
Standing here for 5 minutes
Gentlemen.
telling you, I don't care if they spray Paraquat.
Well, then will you stop complaining about it? You don't care about it.
Wait
will you
a
complain about it?
second, Otto, and the glider pilot there. You, sir. Ed, you wanted to say something, and I wanted to ask you a
Hey,
question.
did you choke up before you come on the show?
Besides, Ed,
Oh,
wait a
very
second, I want to ask him a question, Otto. Zip it.
Tons of
Ed,
funds on.
zip
Bring
it,
'em on.
Otto.
Oh, sorry.
Let me ask you a question here. Besides being the author of the quintessential tome on marijuana cultivation, you also are persona non grata at Normal. Why did they fire you?
He's welcome at Normal.
I'm welcome.
Are
I'm the
you?
director of Normal. How can you say he's
What
persona
happened?
non grata?
How do you feel about them, Ed? Do you feel they're elitists?
Well, I feel
Do you
that they
feel they're
I feel
elitist?
that they haven't given enough say to the membership, but I think that that's changing rapidly under John's leadership.
John, the new leader?
And he's doing a
Proud
great
of you,
job.
John. Today normal, tomorrow abnormal. Who
Hey,
knows
if it
what
weren't
the
for my lawyers,
Tommy.
we wouldn't be here.
If what?
If it weren't for my lawyers, you wouldn't have this issue to devote some good attention to.
I would rather not have it to devote any attention to. I would much rather have a show dealing with why you weren't sexually abused as a kid. You should have been.
Come on.
Oh, Mr. Morton, I feel that the spraying of Paraquat on marijuana is chemical warfare upon the human body, and I feel that Edwin Mises' Nazi-type tactics upon men, women, children, animals, and vegetation have got to be stopped, and that people like the Reagan administration have got to be placed on trial for mass genocide. Because dig it, sir, dig it. You think you can stop marijuana? You've got one thing coming, buddy. You can't go one place and go to another. We have thousands of people marching up every first Saturday in May at Fifth Avenue.
You're a perfect example of what the stuff does to the brains,
We
okay?
march all over the country to smoke marijuana. Remember, everybody smokes marijuana.
Hello,
I'm sure
anybody
you've got a
home?
relative who smokes marijuana. Half the police officers smoke marijuana.
God, you smoke a
Come on down. Come on down. Anyone wants
I
to
don't
come down,
believe it.
come on down. Hell, let's make it an open forum
The
tonight.
authorities think they can stop
Sir,
it.
don't get so close to the microphone. You're spitting all over. It's getting over the clock.
The authorities think they can stop it. It's smoked at Grateful Dead concerts, it's smoked at rainbow family gatherings in national parks throughout North America, it's smoked in Amsterdam, it's smoked in the campgrounds, it's smoked in backyards. Everybody and their mother and their father smokes marijuana. That's wrong.
You smoke marijuana? You smoke
Yeah.
marijuana? You smoke marijuana?
No way.
You smoke? You
No
smoke?
way. I'm
You
afraid I
smoke?
might like it if I stop.
20 years.
You've been smoking for 20 years.
I am a father of a child who came out who has a high IQ. I don't smoke in front of her.
Yes,
Hey,
it's gone by.
Hey, Diggin,
Hey,
Woodstock may be
this
over.
is 1988.
What is the question, sir?
This is 1988, remember?
Hey, Woodstock may be physically over, but there are ideals which we're
There's a lot
dealing
of
with.
dead
We're
people.
dealing with world peace.
There's a
We're
lot of
dealing
dead
with
people
humanism.
from it, too.
We're dealing with stopping the Reagan war machine, which brings in cocaine into the United States.
Wow.
Which is refinancing crime.
I don't believe you. I don't
And
believe
people
you.
like you, the National Federation of Drug-Free Youth, is a sham because you don't deal with real problems in the third world communities. You are a liar.
Come on. Come on.
Next, we're going to meet some people like this gentleman. Oh, it was wonderful, sir. I want to introduce you to a gentleman. I want to introduce you to the head of the Yippies, all right? I know you want to meet this guy. Dana Beal.
I thought he was the end of the hippies.
Ah, yes, Dana Beal, man. Dana, I got to be honest with you. You really look crummy.
I do. Well, it was a hot day out there, Mort.
I look like you if I
greenhouse
smoked
effect.
pot all my life.
Now, I didn't smoke any pot today. The
Have you ever
greenhouse effect, though, the ozone, you know, it's getting to be so you can't go out with having to, without the air smarting.
Let me ask how old you are. How old are you?
41.
Are you 41?
You should have seen my dad. He was
Check
a
it out.
drunk.
55, 41.
All right.
Yeah, my dad was a drunk. My dad was a drunk, and he had totally white hair at 29.
Jerry, let me come back to Jerry. Let me come back to Jerry, all right?
He's only 28.
Let me come back to Jerry. Every politician from the Duke to the Bush has been yammering about the war on drugs, all right? But would we have this problem today if Washington had said no to those pro-druggies back in '83 when they were dropping the Paraquat?
Absolutely, you're absolutely right. Had they said no at that point and continued Paraquat spraying, I don't think that's the whole issue. Because this is not their issue. This isn't John Getman's issue, this isn't his issue, and this isn't his issue. Their issue and their hidden agenda today, which they haven't brought out to you today, in every letter that they write, is to legalize pot.
Yeah!
You're the kind of people.
That's absolutely right.
American pot off the street so that we got crack.
Why should it be legalized? Hey, hey.
These are the kind of people who believe that you get rid of
I want to hear
marijuana.
what Ed has to say.
The kids won't go on to crack.
Wait a second, Ed hasn't had
And that's how we got crack.
So we can get serious on the war on drugs, because we have only a limited amount of resources, and we have to allocate them in the way that's the most useful. Pot's relatively benign. I'm not saying it's harmless, but it's relatively benign. What would you rather do? Have a war against crack or have a war against pot? Because we don't have enough money to do them both. So what we have to do...
Alcohol or tobacco, come on.
What we have to do...
That's back in the 60s.
When was the last
Come
thing
on.
the
You know,
marijuana?
well, let me tell you something. Let me tell you, Jerry, everybody knows that a 16-year-old with a $2 in their pocket on Times Square with an ID can buy a beer in his local deli. Would the same thing happen if we legalized pot?
Absolutely. There's no two ways about it. But how can you, why are you comparing pot to alcohol? Why
Oh, wait
not
a second.
compare
I
it
am
to-
because they're both drugs. One happens to be legal, the
So
other's
is
illegal.
crack. So is cocaine.
A deadly
Which he-
drug.
Can I ask you
A
something?
deadly
Morton,
drug.
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Don't you think that every kid in any high school in the United States can buy pot now?
Sure they can.
Okay.
Sometimes,
okay.
sometimes from their
So if we
teacher.
had- if we had a civil regulatory process, then people would not have as much incentive to sell pot to kids because they'd lose their license. Now, maybe not in New York City or New Jersey, but in a lot of other states where they have...
Let them bring up the DEA report of what happened when they did this into Holland. They've never had a bigger problem with a black market.
They
which
don't
is
have
10
crack
times
in
bigger.
Holland. They don't have people
right.
standing
I
on
I
the
go
corner
to-
on my corner,
They
the
have
Bleecker and the Bowery
they have
dealing
heroin.
crack. They don't have a zillion people dealing crack because they co-opted the dealers and they put them in coffee shops and they semi-legalized
Let me
them.
hear from him now. Let me hear from you. Go ahead, Otto.
Let me tell you something. What you guys are is absolutely ridiculous. You take Alaska. Alaska legalized the growing of marijuana, which is really against international law to start off with, okay? And they've got a horrendous marijuana problem up there, and that's the truth. No way would... We legalized alcohol a long time ago. Did it keep it away from our kids? Huh? Did it? Answer me a question. No way.
What are the
legalizing is... What are we supposed to do? Wait a second. What are we supposed to do?
The U.S. has had success
stupefying drugs? Come on, take your brain on a neutral.
You know what they are. It's alcohol and tobacco.
Get serious.
Tobacco use has gone down from 55% to 25%.
Because of education.
Alcohol use has gone down. It's
Why
gone
are
down
people like you forcing us to smoke cancer reps? Why do you have the power of coming and checking on what I smoke?
I'm not forcing you to do anything.
Pushing tobacco on the kids in your drug-free program.
You do what you want. Look at you. Look what you did to yourself.
Not a single cancer
You're a perfect example of brain damage. I'm telling you. I feel sorry for you.
That's just BS. The cancer deaths come from the toxic metal traces in the tars.
Wait a second. How about the one you can prove, pal? Wait a second. Name one you can prove from cigarettes.
My grandfather. I watched my grandfather smoke for 3 years. Fucking told it, dude. You don't know what the hell you're talking about.
No idea what he's done.
I'm talking about the doctors proving to you, records after records. You can't name one.
Look, I'll show you where it begins and how people die.
The American government itself admits that over 250,000 deaths a year from tobacco.
Jerry!
They can't name one from marijuana.
Brush your teeth. I did. Let me introduce Officer Rogers. All right?
Ed, before we talk about legalizing pot, I think we ought to talk about legalizing the death penalty for drug pushers in this country.
Are you talking about Bush when you talk about drug peddlers, or are you talking about Reagan? Who are you talking about? Because these are the people that are pushing...
Let me hear. Ed, zip it. I want to hear him for a minute. Let me hear him.
You're in touch.
Mort, they appear to be trying to tell the American people that marijuana is a victimless type crime. Well, it isn't. Now, I've been in the Juvenile Bureau 8 to 10 years in the police department that I serve, and I could remember a number of young children, age 15, 16, 17, smoking a joint, and then they didn't have a high anymore after they smoked so much pot. That would progress to cocaine, and then the cocaine would progress to crack. I remember a girl...
That's right. Now they go straight to crack. Now they go straight to crack.
Let's hear the gentleman. Wait a second. We've heard your argument. I want to hear his.
He doesn't have one.
I want to hear his.
He doesn't have one.
Zip it before I tie your whiskers together.
Come on, get off.
You know, Ed, you're a pretty brave guy up there, but I'd like to see how brave you are when you have some of these drug smugglers stick a gun in your face.
Yeah, you're
If it were legal, we wouldn't have smugglers.
Mort,
if it were legal, we wouldn't have smugglers.
So, Mort, it's a progressive type disease. I know a girl just 3 weeks ago died of AIDS, and I remember her life began with pot. It's a progressive disease, so they want to legalize it.
Wait a second. How'd she get AIDS from pot?
All right, let me fill the gap.
Where was she sticking the pot?
Right. Yeah, no. She didn't get AIDS from pot. Let me clarify that. She did not.
Something a lot of people don't know. THC, the major stupefying chemical in marijuana, does affect the immune system.
But Mort, I don't want to mislead anyone. She didn't get AIDS. She didn't get AIDS from pot.
The AIDS virus, so there.
So why don't you go over on Times Square and spit on everyone?
But when you pass a joint, you're not going to pass AIDS.
It was a progressive disease that went up to intravenous heroin taking. Okay. So what they're going to do, what they're trying to do, as the young lady said, it's a hidden agenda to legalize something that's going to destroy. It has always destroyed. No good. Look at these people. This is what.
You know,
one thing.
I'd like to say something.
Otto,
you know,
let him finish.
Otto, I just want to finish up one thing.
Sure.
I believe this country I believe that this country, I'm talking right now, not you.
Hidden about the
Okay.
agenda.
I
I've said we
believe,
want to
Otto.
legalize marijuana for the last year
All
and
right.
a half. You guys
Otto.
are 2 years behind.
I believe in this country. I believe it's a wonderful country. I would rather have my children have role models other than what we've seen displayed
I
tonight.
agree with you. You know, that one marijuana joint that guy that drove the train cost society $58 million, one joint.
I'll
And
tell you
16
what one
people are
joint has
dead
also
because
cost.
of one lousy marijuana cigarette.
And also, ladies and gentlemen, you should know that even for one joint, and I've experienced this just a few days ago, it made the headlines, all right, where even one joint, an individual will take a shotgun and blow a cop's head off. Well, that's exactly how insane these people are.
All right, all right. Next, potheads or eggheads? You decide. We're coming back. Join us.
Hi.
All right. Let me go to Jerry Hallcraft, all right? Now, this is a guy whose opinions I don't agree with on many things, but he does some things I admire pretty much. Jerry, let's get off the things I admire and talk about some other things. Did you ever get sick from smoking marijuana?
No.
How about marijuana sprayed with Paraquat?
Hopefully, I've never smoked marijuana sprayed with Paraquat.
How would you know?
Good question.
That's one of the problems.
Good question.
You see, the point is...
These people want the death penalty for users, not just smokers, not just dealers.
Yeah. Enough.
And let me ask you something.
We'll get to it.
If I'm a parent who wants to get my kids off marijuana, is a rehab center the place to send them?
No, absolutely not.
Why?
Because for every month that a kid's in a rehab center, they have a 1% chance of going on to another primary drug, heroin, cocaine, opiates.
And only... No, but if they say
let me ask Ed why that is.
14% of the kids who go into a program like that come out drug-free. The reason why most kids go into a rehab program for marijuana is because of legal problems, the courts or their employer or something like that. And actually, if you ask anybody who used to smoke marijuana who doesn't smoke now, how did you quit? They say, I stopped smoking because it's not addictive. It's not physiological.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second. I won't name the name. I won't name the name of a guy. I won't name the name because he's a good friend and he works with me, all right? Yeah. But he read your book, all right? For years he smoked pot.
Right.
And he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a principal of a high school.
Right.
He's got standing. Smoked pot, went home, sat in the jacuzzi, the hot tub. I mean, toked all night long. Everything was fine, you know. Give his wife half a Quaalude so they had better sex. I mean, all the crap.
Well, that's a little different than
I
marijuana.
know, but when we're talking about the pot. Now, if he even smells it, he gets flashes, all right, and becomes totally paranoid. He is so off it, it's pitiful, because he panics. He turns into a fetal position from just the smell of pot. So something can go wrong, can't it?
Well, I think there are people who have allergies to it, and they shouldn't be near it.
Alcohol isn't for everybody. Alcohol isn't for everybody. We never said pot was for everybody.
Here, I feel for the guy, but would throwing the guy in jail do him any good?
No, I don't say that.
Because right now in
I'm not
America there are
saying-
20,000
I'm not
people.
saying-
Right today.
I'm not
this moment,
saying-
there are 20,000 people.
What?
There are 20,000 people.
Steve, you're
There are
an
20,000
officer of the
people
law.
in jail for
You're
marijuana. For nothing but
please.
marijuana. Nothing else. There are 400,000.
Ed, Officer Rogers, let me ask you a
400,000
question.
arrests
Do
for
you know
marijuana.
of anyone who's in jail strictly for smoking pot?
No.
Neither do I. It's not just for smoke.
I'd put you in jail if I found you.
Jose, it's 1988. So what?
Said something about the aerosol. They actually want to stop.
Wait a second, Otto.
They
Otto,
want
just
Look
say-
at you. Your haircut's
Let me
from
hear
the
this.
40s. What's wrong
You're
with
living
that?
40 years ago.
Look at this beard you got.
What's that? What's that got to? What does my
You're a
appearance?
young Santa
Wait,
Claus,
what
huh?
does my appearance have to do with the fact that I smoke marijuana?
It does.
What does my appearance have to do with it?
Because you don't
I
want to...
smoked marijuana before I grew a beard, dude.
Okay.
I smoked marijuana before I grew my hair.
And you know what happened to you? Your
I give up. What happened to
Your
me?
frontal lobe is gone. You can't see.
I can see what's
I'm telling you. You lowered the energy levels in your brain.
My frontal lobe. You're the one who thinks that marijuana was decriminalized in New York in 1978. You're the one that thinks Paraquat isn't harmful, and you're telling me my frontal lobe is gone?
It isn't.
Then, dude, you're just an idiot.
Compared to
At least I
marijuana-
got an excuse. What's yours?
What do you mean? You got an excuse? You're damn right you got an excuse.
You don't have any. You're just an idiot.
And I do. I'm telling you. And it's sad. I feel sorry for you.
Ed and John are talking about stopping the air assault on the marijuana fields. I believe Ed mentioned earlier they should go in with these axes or machetes or whatever. That's been tried, Mort. What do we do? What do we do with the people who are putting the minefields in these fields?
You're tired, all right.
I'm telling you.
Couple
he
of times
opens up
over.
opening buildings.
You know, here's where...
empty buildings. I can't
let me tell you. No,
we,
he does a good
we
job.
take people off
He
the
does a good
street.
job on
They're
that.
living in homeless,
All right, we're going to... Jerry, we're going to do that show later.
We get them home.
Jerry, we'll do that. Jerry, we'll do that show later.
Okay.
All right, now, let me... Here's where the real hypocrisy comes. We say war on drugs. Say no to drugs. It's horse.
Well, wait a second.
Wait a
It's a
second.
starter up
No,
kit.
it's
It really
not
is.
a starter
It is,
up.
of course.
It's not a starter up.
I'm sorry.
It's an upper class. It's an upper class
I'm
starter
sorry.
up.
No, I'm
You
gonna-
think saying to some 9-year-old
yeah,
kid,
but
say
wait
no
a
to
second,
drugs
can I
in
say-
the ghetto, it does
Wait a-
anything,
you know
doesn't mean
wait a
squat.
second. That's where the St. No Club started, in the ghettos.
But
out
it
in
means
California.
nothing. It doesn't
No,
do
wait,
anything.
it's a starter
How do you
up
tell a
kit.
9-year-old
Wait a
kid
second, you
to
give
go
them
get a high
reasons
school...
why to say
Oh,
no.
really? You tell a 9-year-old kid in the ghetto to go get a high school education, and you'll see
No.
he gets a job.
I agree
for
with you to
$8 an
just
hour.
say no, but it's a
Meantime, he's
starter
making
up kit.
$500 a day
Mort, I'm
selling
going to
crack.
tell you something. If you check it out, a lot of things, good things have happened from
guy
those
is
clubs.
pushing
I mean it, okay, I'm not kidding.
FNG. Let's go to the audience, all right? I want to speak to you guys. You guys come on down.
Some of the guests of the Morton Downey Jr. show stay at the Meadowlands Hilton Hotel.
I just want to ask one question of these war on drugs types. NBC came out with a thing at the original time Noriega was indicted, that Noriega gave a large amount of money to Lyndon LaRouche and the war on drugs to wipe out U.S. marijuana production in order to open up the market here for cocaine and other South American drugs. What I want to know is, why are they against American farmers making the money and keeping it here? Why are you against American farmers keeping the money here? We were supposedly $160 billion a year.
I love it, man.
Goes out of the
Only in
country.
America. An all-American patriotic pothead.
That's right. My grandfather marched in Coxey's army. There have been radical zeal since the beginning of this country. One of my ancestors signed the Declaration of Independence.
Well, when he signed it, he took away your brain.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
How you doing? First off, I think what it comes down to is that it's a question of choice for Americans. Do you want to smoke pot or don't you want to smoke pot? Do you want to wear Red Sox on TV or don't you? And I love them, okay? Do you want to smoke cigarettes? If we found out that the government was spraying Paraquat on tobacco, would we stop them or would we not? All right? And a few people had ascribed to this gentleman's looks and his looks, and once again, it's a question of choice. This is America, and we have the rights of the minority and the rights of the majority. It should be settled in, if it has to go to the Supreme Court, fine. Because in Washington State, in Washington State, in the state of Washington, you can grow marijuana legally on your own land. In the state of New Jersey, Alaska, okay? In the state of New Jersey, if you have a joint on your possession, you could possibly do, I don't know, let's say realistically 60 days.
Shot in the back.
Okay?
You gotta be kidding. Geraldine Ferrara's trying to sit
shot in the back in New Jersey. It happened.
Let me here.
I get to admit that I smoke pot, and you assume that I do. Okay? I'm an American, and I feel that you have a right to do this, and they have a right to do that.
Does an American have the right to do anything that they want?
To their own bodies, yes.
Their own bodies.
No, I believe that Americans have the right to do what they want in their own homes and to let their local representatives know their feelings. And
so to do it as long as it's done within their own home.
Right, I don't think you should be doing it out in the street
in other words,
front of kids.
You want to have a little incest with your kid in your own home, that's all right.
No. That's not...
So there are limits.
That's a totally different issue. And
so it has to be your own body.
No, not your body.
How you doing, Mark? I think we need to expand the scope of this discussion here because we're not just talking about paraquat. We're talking about herbicides named Spike that are being sprayed in Peru and Colombia, and Eli Lilly Company has refused to sell them to the U.S. government because they will poison the landscape and cause defects in the population.
Mort, without a
Are
doubt,
we talking
I've
about
never
the
seen
death
the
penalty
biggest
for
BS
using drugs?
BS artists with these pot guys. You know how many people I know, and I come from a middle-class neighborhood in Staten Island. They start with pot, they go to coke. Before you know it, they're losers.
Absolutely.
Okay? I'm going to tell you something, buddy. 60% of the United States is related to drugs. Okay?
Drugs are illegal. They're illegal. People like you make sure that the drugs are sold by the Gottis, the Gambios, and all that. You would rather see drugs sold by a creep on the street than you would by a capitalist. Right. You keep the truth in power. Talk.
I'm talking. Look at it this way. When a guy needs his, how about these guys that go from pot to coke, and when they need their fix with their coke or crack, man, they're gonna have to come and mug you.
Have you been in a mugging, sir?
No.
How did you get those scratches? From a drug dealer?
My
Your
sister
sister scratched?
That's all.
Were you attacking her?
No. No, not at all, Mort.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Louis Lepori.
Louis?
I says...
This is... If you see this man on the street, avoid him. Now, next gentleman.
All right, stop spraying Agent Orange.
Gentleman!
Hi, Mort. Thanks a lot. I just want to say one thing. Everybody's going about this the wrong way. You've heard of economics, supply and demand, okay? If you cut the supply, you still have a demand. All you do is increase that price. If we can cut this demand, the supply will dry up.
But we're the only ones who have a consumer boycott by the drug users, pot people boycotting coke.
Dealing with countries that are giving it to us.
They've got a magazine to promote the demand. This is a magazine to promote the demand. They have Cheech and Chong. No, of course. Oh,
I wrote in it. Would you like to see my column?
Andy Cowell is no longer writing it. He's no longer the editor.
This is strictly to promote, right? Promote the use?
No, it's just to provide information about it.
Provide information?
Of course it is. These are recent articles. They had, up until 1984, they were selling coke as a recreational drug.
Or is that the next one?
This is 4 years ago as a social recreational drug. This is according to Ron Siegel and everybody else that wrote for this magazine.
Boring.
I don't think it's right. It's the liberals. It's always them. They brought this country down ever since Carter came in. Peace, love, and frisbees for everybody. Look at this chrome dome over here. Look at him. Right? Where's that other guy? He's sitting down. His eyes are glossy. They look like marbles.
Why can't we do that to other countries that give us the drugs, like Colombia? Colombia is the best maker of it. And yet
why don't we? We're so willing to drop Agent Orange on our own damn men in Vietnam. Why don't we just level the fields in Colombia?
I love it. I love to drop gas.
That's a real war on drugs. We'll be back in just a second. about time we heard from the finer sex. Go ahead.
Okay. All I want to say is that our laws have to be a lot stricter. I was in a courtroom one time, and everybody that was caught with joints, all they got was a $50 fine.
Where are you going to put them? Where are you going to lock them?
Well, what should you do with someone who's caught with a joint?
But these were third and fourth offenses that they had. They should get more than a $50 fine. If it's third and fourth offenses.
trying to tell you it's 20,000.
Yeah, but if they've only got one joint on them. What are you going to do? They've only got one joint on them.
It's still drugs, Mort. It's still drugs. It doesn't matter how much.
Where you get tough is not on the user. You get tough on the distributor, you get tough on the dealer, and you really cream them, all right? What is going on over here?
I manage a group. Mort, I manage a group of Yeah, you're a killer. I manage a group of highly trained technical people. I don't want them getting high, falling asleep, sending a carload of M&Ms to Columbia instead of Kmart. I say, he in the cup, test them all. I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something. Myself. That's your problem, dude. That's my problem. For my 7-year-old kid. That's okay. I paid for this. You paid for that. You're an idiot. Your stomach wasn't anywhere near as fat as mine. You don't know what you're talking about. Dude, I run 10 miles a week. How far can you run? 10 feet? With a belly like that, how far can you run? My 7-year-old made a poster. An anti-drug poster in school. He didn't score nothing, but he did it all by himself. And if he grows up to look like you, I'm doing
Yeah, he says that marijuana is addictive, right? Right? You say that marijuana is addictive, right?
Sorry. Zip it. Go ahead, pal.
This guy said that marijuana is addictive, right?
It's not addictive.
It's not addictive.
Tobacco. Who are you
But
kidding?
okay, I've smoked marijuana, growing up, right?
Is it even psychologically addictive, Ed?
Sometimes.
Okay.
But yet
All right.
still you want to
All
legalize it, right?
And so are cigarettes. I wish the hell I didn't smoke all I smoke. All right?
But the question is,
Go ahead.
you know where we are?
Okay, I want to hear this lady. Ed, will you shut up? Let this lady talk.
Are either of you gentlemen married? Do you have children? How would you like it if you see your 7- or 8-year-old kid sitting on a street corner smoking a joint? What would you do? What would you do? Tell me, what would you do?
Well, first of all, I want to really address this seriously. The first problem that we have is that the peddler of pot right now has no incentive not to sell to a kid.
Many parents are supplying their kids. Many parents give their kids.
Let Ed talk. Let Ed talk.
Yes or no?
What would you do if you saw your kid smoking pot?
What I'm worried about, Morton, I have 2 kids.
Wait a second. He has 2
I'm worried
kids.
about my kid because he is that age now, and he lives in Washington, D.C., which is full of PCP and crack. And I'm a lot more worried about that. I expect eventually he might smoke cigarettes. I'm going to try to prevent that. Eventually he might smoke pot. I'm going to try to prevent that.
Have you given them pot?
I would never give a
So it's okay for you, and then it's okay for everybody else, but not your kid. What?
Sorry, Morton. I shouldn't have said that on the air. You can bleep me out.
No, we'll bleep
But
it
look,
out.
I want to say something to all
I
you
simply
people.
wanted to ask,
We
would
have-
you give the kid pot if he wasn't doing that?
Many parents are giving kids pot.
Look, all I can say is these people are real brave here in the studio. We have thousands of potheads on Halloween in Washington Square Park having a smoke-in. Come and try and stop us.
Look, everyone is in favor of an intelligent, safe use of the environment. After all, it's the only one that we have. But you gotta look at it this way, man. They haven't been able to control it. I don't know what's going to be done about it. The war on drugs is bull. It's bull until we get out there and really have a war. Sink the Colombians. Get rid of it now.